I used to wire her money every Monday like clockwork. She said she needed to pay tuition, help her Lola buy uniforms. I believed her. Of course I did. But then I saw her in the bridal shop window, and the man beside her wasn't me. I met Alora outside a 7-Eleven in Ortigas on my second week in the Philippines. The paper bag tore in her hands and textbooks spilled across the sidewalk. Medical terminology books, anatomy charts. I bent down to help her collect them. "Thank you, sir," she said, and when she looked up at me, her smile wasn't practiced. It was grateful, real. "Are you a student?" I asked, holding up one of her books. "Nursing," she said, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "Second year at FEU Roosevelt." She was 28 but looked younger in the afternoon light filtering through the city smog. I was 59 and felt every year of it until that moment. "These books are expensive," I said, flipping through the pages. "Very expensive, sir, but I work nights at a call center to pay for them." The way she said sir made me feel important, respected. When was the last time Sarah had looked at me like that? When was the last time anyone had? "Would you like to get some dinner?" I asked. "I don't know the good places yet." She hesitated, glancing at her phone. "I should study tonight. Just rice and chicken. 30 minutes. She smiled again, softer this time. "Okay, just 30 minutes." We walked to Jollibee 3 blocks away. She ordered a simple chicken meal and ate slowly, asking me questions between bites. "What brought you to Philippines, sir?" "Curtis," I said. "Call me Curtis." And honestly, I needed somewhere warm, somewhere different. Iowa winters were killing me slowly. She laughed at that, a genuine sound that made something in my chest loosen. "You came here to escape winter?" "Among other things." I didn't mention the divorce papers still sitting on my kitchen counter back in Des Moines. Didn't mention how Sarah's lawyer had cleaned out half my retirement account. Didn't mention how empty that house felt after 32 years of marriage. "Philippines is good for healing," Alora said, reaching across the table to touch my hand briefly. "The weather, the people, we take care of visitors here." Her fingers were soft, warm. I hadn't been touched like that in months. "Tell me about nursing school," I said. "Is it difficult?" Her face lit up. "Very difficult. But I want to work abroad someday. Maybe Dubai or America. Help my family here while earning good money there." She spoke about her dreams like they were fragile things, precious and breakable. "My Lola raised me after my parents died. She's sick now, diabetic. The medicine is expensive. Sometimes I wonder if I should quit school and work full-time instead." "Don't quit," I said quickly. "Dreams like that are worth fighting for." She smiled at me then, and for the first time in years, I felt like I mattered to someone. When we finished eating, I walked her to the jeepney terminal. "Thank you for dinner, Curtis," she said, "and for helping with my books. Maybe we could do this again sometime? I would like that." She wrote her number on a napkin and handed it to me. As her jeepney pulled away, she waved from the window. I stood there watching until the taillights disappeared into Manila traffic, my heart beating like I was 25 again. That night in my hotel room, I stared at her number for an hour before finally texting. "Thank you for a lovely evening." "Sweet dreams," she replied immediately. "Sweet dreams to you too, Curtis. See you soon." I fell asleep smiling for the first time in months. Over the next month, we developed a routine. Breakfast at Jollibee near her boarding house, evening walks through tiendecitas. She always ordered the same thing, chicken with rice, orange juice. I started ordering the same, pretending I liked the sweetness. "You don't have to eat like me," she said one morning, laughing as I struggled with the sugary drink. "I want to," I replied. "I like sharing things with you." She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "You're different from Filipino men, more gentle." "Different how?" "Filipino men, they expect women to serve them. You open doors for me. You ask what I want to eat instead of deciding for me." I felt proud of that, like being a decent human being was an achievement. Maybe after 32 years of Sarah rolling her eyes at my attempts at romance, I'd forgotten what appreciation looked like. "Tell me about your Lola," I said. "What's she like?" Alora's face softened. "She's 78. Raised 6 grandchildren after our parents died in a bus accident. I was 12. She worked as a seamstress her whole life, never married. Said men were too much trouble. She smiled sadly. Now her hands shake too much to sew. Her diabetes is getting worse. I buy her insulin when I can afford it. That's expensive medication. Very expensive. Sometimes I choose between my textbooks and her medicine. Medicine always wins. I made a mental note to ask about the cost later. What about you? She asked. Tell me about your marriage. I hadn't expected that question. What makes you think I was married? You have the tan line from a wedding ring, and you look at couples differently. Like you remember something. She was more observant than I'd realized. 32 years, I said. Divorced 6 months ago. What happened? Sarah said I was boring. Predictable. That I'd stopped trying to make her happy years ago. I stirred my coffee, avoiding her eyes. Maybe she was right. I worked, came home, watched TV, went to bed. Same routine for decades. That sounds peaceful, Alora said. Not according to her. She wanted excitement, adventure, passion. Found all three with her personal trainer. Alora winced. I'm sorry. That must have been very painful. The worst part wasn't the affair. It was realizing she was probably right about me. I had become boring. You're not boring, Alora said firmly. You moved to a new country alone. That's brave. Exciting. I ran away to a new country. There's a difference. No, she said, leaning forward. You chose to start over. That takes courage. The way she looked at me then, like I was someone worth knowing, worth choosing, I felt something crack open in my chest. Hope, maybe, or just the desperate need to be seen as more than I'd become. That evening we walked through the night market at Tiendesitas. She stopped at a jewelry stall, admiring a simple silver bracelet. It's pretty, I said. Very expensive though. She laughed and pulled me away. Come, let's look at something else. But I remembered the way she'd touched it, the longing in her expression. The next morning I went back and bought it. When I gave it to her over breakfast, she cried. Actually cried. Curtis, this is too much. It's just a bracelet. No, it's not just a bracelet. It's the first gift a man has given me that wasn't, that expected something in return. She fastened it around her wrist, and I felt like I'd accomplished something meaningful. Later that day, walking past the FEU Roosevelt campus, she grabbed my hand suddenly. Curtis, I want to tell you something. What is it? I'm falling in love with you. The words hit me like electricity. I stopped walking, turning to face her completely. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything. She stood on her tiptoes and kissed me then, right there on the busy sidewalk with jeepneys honking and vendors calling out prices. I kissed her back, and for the first time in years, I felt alive. I love you too, I whispered against her lips, and I meant it. God help me, I meant it. 3 weeks after she said she loved me, Alora brought up money for the first time directly. We were having dinner at a small restaurant near her school when she grew quiet, pushing rice around her plate. Something wrong? I asked. Curtis, I need to ask you something, but I don't know how. Just ask. We can talk about anything. She took a deep breath. My tuition payment is due next week. 25,000 pesos. I've been working extra shifts at the call center, but I'm still short 15,000. I didn't hesitate. I'll give it to you. No, Curtis. I can't accept that much money from you. Why not? You're my girlfriend. I care about you. It feels like too much. Like I'm using you. I reached across the table and took her hands. Listen to me. I have money sitting in banks in Iowa, doing nothing. Sarah took half in the divorce, but I still have more than I need. Let me help with your education. Are you sure? I'm sure. But I have a condition. Her face fell. What condition? When you become a nurse, you buy me one dinner. Somewhere nice. Deal? She laughed through tears I didn't expect. Deal. The next Monday, I wired her the 15,000 pesos. She texted me a receipt from the school and a photo of herself holding her enrollment confirmation. She looked so happy, so grateful. It felt better than any high I'd ever experienced. Thank you, Curtis. You don't know what this means to me and my family. 2 weeks later, she called crying. What's wrong? Lola had to go to the emergency room. Her blood sugar was too high. They want to keep her overnight for observation. How much do you need? Curtis, I can't keep asking you for money. How much, Alora? 8,000 pesos. For the hospital bill and her medications. I'll send it today. I'll pay you back when I graduate. Don't worry about paying me back. Just take care of your grandmother. That's how the Monday transfers started. Every week, she'd tell me what she needed for school, for Lola, for her boarding house rent, for books, for transportation. The amounts were reasonable, never more than 15,000 pesos at a time. I could afford it easily, and seeing her relief, her gratitude, her love when I helped. It was addictive. You're an angel, she'd say after each transfer. I don't know what I'd do without you. I started looking forward to Mondays. To her messages telling me what she needed and why. To her photos showing me how she'd spent the money, textbooks, medicine bottles, receipts from school. To her voice saying, I love you after each transaction cleared. Curtis, can I ask you something? She said one evening as we walked along the Pasig River. Anything. Why do you help me so much? Other foreign men here, they expect things. When they give money to Filipina women. I stopped walking. What kind of things? You know, they think money means ownership. They think we owe them our bodies, our time, our decisions. I don't think you owe me anything. I know. That's why I love you. She kissed my cheek. You help because you care, not because you want to control me. Looking back now, I wonder if that conversation was calculated. If she was testing my boundaries, seeing how much I'd give without asking for anything in return. But at the time, it felt like validation. Proof that I was different from other foreign men she'd known. Proof that what we had was real. By the end of month 3, I was sending her money twice a week. Sometimes for school, sometimes for Lola, sometimes for her sister who lived in the province and needed emergency funds for her children. The amounts grew gradually, 20,000 here, 25,000 there. I convinced myself it wasn't about the money. It was about being needed. About mattering to someone who mattered to me. I feel bad taking so much from you, she said during one of our breakfast dates. Don't feel bad, I budget for it now. I call it my Making Alora Happy Fund. She laughed. But something flickered across her face. Guilt, relief? I couldn't tell. What happens when I graduate and start working? When I don't need your help anymore? Then I'll find other ways to make you happy, I said, but I hope you'll still let me take care of you sometimes. It's what men who love women do. Always, Curtis. Always. But she said it, looking at her phone, not at me. 2 months into our Monday transfer routine, I noticed she never wore a nursing student uniform. In Iowa, I'd driven past the community college many times. Nursing students were always recognizable in their scrubs and white shoes. But Alora always dressed in regular clothes, jeans, t-shirts, simple dresses. Don't you have clinical rotations? I asked one morning. Clinical what? Hospital training. Hands-on practice with patients. Don't nursing students wear uniforms for that? She paused, coffee cup halfway to her lips. Oh yes. Clinicals. We start those next semester. Shouldn't you have uniforms by now? So you're ready when classes begin? The school provides them, she said quickly. We get fitted closer to the start date. It seemed reasonable. Different countries, different systems. But something about her hesitation bothered me. The way she'd said, clinical what? Like she'd never heard the term before. That afternoon, I offered to drive her to campus. I'd been asking for weeks to see where she studied, maybe meet some of her classmates. Curtis, I told you visitors aren't allowed on campus. School policy. Not even in the lobby? Just to see where my girlfriend studies? Security is very strict. Foreign visitors make them nervous. She kissed my cheek. But I appreciate you wanting to see my school. It means you care about my dreams. 2 weeks later, I brought it up again. Alora, I'd love to buy you some nursing supplies. Stethoscope, blood pressure cuff, whatever you need. That's sweet, but the school provides everything we need. What about textbooks? You're always studying from photocopied pages. Original textbooks are too expensive. Everyone uses copies. But I could afford originals. Better printing, clearer diagrams. Curtis, you already help so much with my tuition and Lola's medicine. I can't ask for more. But I hadn't asked her to ask. I'd offered. And her immediate deflection felt rehearsed. like she'd anticipated the question. The next Monday, after sending her usual 15,000 pesos for tuition, I decided to surprise her with nursing supplies. I went to a medical supply store in Makati and bought a basic kit: stethoscope, blood pressure monitor, pen light, scissors. Quality items that would serve her well during clinicals and beyond. When I gave her the bag that evening, her reaction was strange. She opened it slowly, lifting each item like she wasn't sure what it was. "This is very expensive, Curtis. You're going to be an excellent nurse. You deserve good tools." "Yes, but these are for advanced students. I'm still learning basics. You can grow into them. Think of them as motivation." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Thank you. I'll keep them safe until I'm ready to use them." That night, she left the bag at my hotel room. "Too risky to take back to my boarding house," she explained. "Other students might get jealous or try to steal them." It made sense. But it also meant I never saw her use anything I'd bought. Never saw her study with the equipment. Never saw any evidence that she was actually learning to be a nurse. I started paying attention to her hands during our dates. Smooth, soft, no calluses from handling medical equipment. Her fingernails were always perfectly manicured, not like someone who worked with her hands or dealt with bodily fluids. When she talked about her classes, the details were vague. "We studied anatomy today." "Which part of anatomy?" "The heart and lungs." "Did you practice taking blood pressure?" "We mostly watched demonstrations." Always watching, never doing. Always learning theory, never practice. But I pushed those doubts aside. Maybe Filipino nursing schools were different. Maybe she was just naturally graceful and good at self-care. Maybe I was overthinking everything because I'd been burned by Sarah's lies. I didn't want to be that suspicious, paranoid ex-husband who couldn't trust anyone. I wanted to be the generous, loving boyfriend who supported his partner's dreams. Even if those dreams were starting to feel less and less real every day. I was at SM Aura, looking for a new watch when I saw her. At first, my heart jumped, that automatic happiness that comes from spotting someone you love in an unexpected place. I started to call out her name, but something stopped me. She wasn't alone. A young Filipino man walked beside her, carrying her shopping bags. Not just one bag, multiple bags from expensive stores. They were laughing together, his hand occasionally touching the small of her back in a way that seemed familiar, comfortable. I ducked behind a pillar and watched. He was maybe 25, handsome in the way Filipino men often are, lean, with styled hair and designer clothes. They stopped at a jewelry counter, and she tried on earrings while he nodded approvingly. The same kind of earrings she'd admired but called too expensive when we'd shopped together. My chest felt tight, like someone was squeezing my heart with their fist. They bought the earrings. I watched him pay while she kissed his cheek in thanks. They walked toward the exit, and I followed from a distance, staying behind displays and other shoppers. In the parking garage, he opened the door of a late-model Toyota for her. She slid into the passenger seat like she belonged there. I stood frozen next to a concrete pillar until their car disappeared down the ramp. My hands were shaking when I got to my own rental car. I sat in the driver's seat for 20 minutes, trying to make sense of what I'd seen. Maybe he was her brother. Maybe he was just a friend helping her shop. Maybe the bags contained things for her family, not herself. Maybe I was jumping to conclusions because I was damaged from Sarah's betrayal. When Alora came to my hotel that evening, I almost didn't bring it up, but the image of his hand on her back kept replaying in my mind. "How was your day?" I asked, trying to sound casual. "Good. Boring classes, then studying at the library." She curled up next to me on the hotel bed, resting her head on my shoulder. "I missed you. Did you go anywhere else? Shopping, maybe?" "No, why?" "I thought I saw you at SM Aura today." Her body went rigid against mine. Just for a second, but I felt it. "Oh yes. I forgot. I went there after the library to buy some school supplies. I saw you with someone. A young man. That was Dario. He's in my class. We were studying together, then he needed to buy something for his family, so I went with him." Her explanation came quickly, almost too quickly. "He seemed very helpful. Carrying your bags. He's just being polite. Filipino men are raised to help women carry things." "What did you buy?" I saw multiple shopping bags. Just boring things. Notebooks, Pens, some clothes I needed. She shifted away from me slightly. Curtis, why are you asking so many questions? Are you jealous? The word stung because it was true. I'm not jealous. I was just surprised to see you there when you said you were at the library. I was at the library first, then SM Aura. I didn't think I needed to report my exact schedule to you. Her voice had an edge I'd never heard before. You don't. I'm sorry. I love you, and seeing you with another man made me feel insecure. Her face softened. Curtis, you have nothing to be insecure about. Dario is just a classmate. You're the man I love. She kissed me then, and I wanted to believe her so badly that I convinced myself I was being paranoid. But that night, after she left, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about how comfortable they'd looked together, how he'd paid for her purchases without hesitation, how she'd kissed his cheek with casual intimacy, how she'd forgotten to mention the shopping trip until I brought it up. I thought about Sarah and how she'd explained away her late nights and weekend plans in the months before I discovered her affair. The same reasonable explanations that made me feel crazy for questioning them. But Alora wasn't Sarah. She was sweet, grateful, dependent on my help for her education and her grandmother's care. She had no reason to lie to me, did she? Over the next week, I found myself watching her more carefully, looking for signs that something was wrong, that my instincts were right. But she seemed the same, loving, appreciative, always happy to see me. If anything, she was more affectionate than usual, as if she sensed my doubts and wanted to reassure me. I love you so much, Curtis, she said one evening as we walked through Bonifacio Global City. You've changed my life completely. How have I changed it? You made me believe I deserve to be loved, that my dreams matter, that someone can care about me without wanting to own me. Words like that made my doubts feel selfish and unworthy. Maybe I was projecting my trust issues onto an innocent situation. Maybe Dario really was just a helpful classmate. Maybe I was sabotaging the best thing that had happened to me in years. But late at night, alone in my hotel room, I couldn't stop wondering why she'd needed multiple shopping bags for notebooks and pens. I was walking back from the bank near Tete, carrying the cash I'd withdrawn to send Alora for her upcoming semester fees, when I saw her through the window of Rosa's bridal boutique. At first, my brain couldn't process what I was seeing. She stood on a raised platform in front of 3 mirrors, wearing a wedding dress. Not just any wedding dress, something elaborate, expensive, with intricate lacework and a long train. She looked radiant, beautiful in a way that took my breath away even as it destroyed me. She was laughing, spinning slowly so the dress flowed around her, and standing beside the platform, watching her, with the kind of smile I thought she reserved for me, was the young man from the mall, Dario. He wasn't just watching, he was participating, adjusting the train, saying something that made her laugh harder. They looked like every engaged couple I'd ever seen shopping for wedding dresses. Happy. In love. Planning a future together. My legs stopped working. I leaned against a streetlight pole and stared through the window, praying I was wrong. Praying there was some other explanation. Maybe she was helping a friend. Maybe it was for a photo shoot. Maybe she worked part-time as a bridal model. But even as I invented excuses, I watched Dario's face. The way he looked at her wasn't the look of a classmate or friend. It was the look of a man in love with his bride-to-be. An elderly woman, presumably the shop owner, approached them with a veil. Alora bent her head as the woman pinned it in place, and when she straightened up, she looked perfect. Like a real bride preparing for her real wedding. Dario stepped closer and cupped her face in his hands. They spoke quietly, intimately, and then he kissed her. Soft, tender, the kind of kiss you give someone you're about to marry. Not the kiss of a study partner, not the kiss of a friend. I stood there for I don't know how long, watching them discuss details with the shop owner. Watching Alora point to different aspects of the dress. Watching Dario nod and smile like a groom who couldn't wait to see his bride walk down the aisle. The cash in my pocket, her tuition money, felt like it was burning through the envelope. How much of my money had paid for this dress? How much of my generosity had funded their wedding plans? When they finally left the boutique, I was still standing there like a statue. They walked past me, so lost in their own happiness they didn't notice the broken foreign man leaning against the streetlight. I watched them get into the same Toyota from the mall and drive away, probably to continue planning their life together. The life I'd been unknowingly financing for months. I don't remember walking back to my hotel. I don't remember the jeepney ride or climbing the stairs to my room. I just remember sitting on my bed, staring at the envelope of cash, finally understanding how completely I'd been played. Every Monday transfer. Every story about tuition and Lola's medicine and her sister's emergency. Every I love you and you're my angel and I don't know what I'd do without you. All of it lies. All of it designed to keep the money flowing while she planned her real life with her real love. I thought about calling her immediately, confronting her, demanding an explanation. But what was there to explain? I'd seen everything I needed to see through that bridal shop window. She wasn't a nursing student struggling to survive. She was a bride preparing for her wedding day, and I was just the foolish foreign man funding it all. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on my hotel bed, staring at my phone, drafting and deleting messages to Alora. By morning, I decided not to text first. I wanted to see if she would contact me like normal, if she would continue the charade now that I knew the truth. Her message came at exactly 9 a.m., like clockwork. Good morning, my love. I hope you slept well. Can you send this week's money today? I need to pay for my clinical supplies and Lola needs her medicine refilled. Thank you for always taking care of me. I love you so much. Reading it felt like being punched in the stomach. The casual lies, the practiced manipulation, the empty words of love, all of it designed to extract one more payment from the stupid American. I stared at the message for an hour before responding, "We need to talk. I'm coming to your boarding house." Her reply came immediately, "Is something wrong? You sound upset. Just be there. We need to talk in person." I took a taxi to Tay, my heart pounding the entire ride. Part of me still hoped there was an explanation. Maybe the wedding dress was for someone else. Maybe Dario was her cousin after all. Maybe I'd misunderstood what I'd seen. But deep down, I knew better. I found her waiting outside her boarding house, looking nervous but beautiful as always. She smiled when she saw me, the same bright smile that had captivated me at the 7-Eleven months earlier. "Curtis, what's wrong? You seem so serious. Let's go somewhere private to talk." We walked to a small park nearby and sat on a bench under a mango tree. She reached for my hand, but I pulled away. The gesture confused her. I'd never rejected her touch before. "I saw you yesterday," I said. "Saw me where?" "At Rosa's bridal boutique, trying on wedding dresses. With Dario." Her face went completely white. For a moment she looked like she might deny it, but something in my expression must have told her it was pointless. "Curtis, I can explain. Please do. Because I'm very confused about why my girlfriend was shopping for wedding dresses with another man." She was quiet for a long time, staring at her hands. When she finally spoke, her voice was different. Smaller. Less confident. "It's not what you think. What I think is that you're engaged to Dario and have been lying to me for months. What I think is that you're not actually a nursing student. What I think is that every peso I've sent you has been funding your real life with your real boyfriend." "It wasn't like that," she said quietly. "Then tell me what it was like, Alora. Tell me the truth for once." She looked up at me, and for the first time since I'd known her, I didn't see the sweet, grateful girl I'd fallen in love with. I saw something harder, more calculating. "You don't understand how difficult life is here for people like me. Explain it to me. My family has no money. Dario's family has no money. But he's a good man, and our families want us to marry. It's been arranged since we were children. So you're not in love with him?" "I care about him. But love doesn't pay for weddings or help families survive." She paused, studying my face. "You have money, Curtis. More money than you know what to do with. You were lonely and I was poor, and we helped each other." "Helped each other?" "I helped you. What did you help me with besides lies? I made you feel important, needed, loved. Isn't that what you came to the Philippines looking for?" The honesty was brutal, but I had to admit she wasn't wrong. "So none of it was real? The nursing school, your grandmother's illness, your feelings for me? Lola is real. She is sick. And nursing school. I was enrolled for 1 semester, but I couldn't afford to continue. Everything else." She shrugged. I never asked you to fall in love with me, Curtis. You offered everything, the money, the gifts, the support. I never forced you to give me anything. But you lied about what you needed it for. I needed it to survive, to help my family, to pay for my wedding. Does it matter why I needed it? Of course it matters. I thought I was helping you build a better future, not funding your life with another man. And I'm grateful for your help, truly, but you knew I was younger, prettier, from a poor family. Did you really think someone like me would choose someone like you if money wasn't involved? Her words cut deeper than anything Sarah had said during our divorce. At least Sarah had the decency to pretend our marriage had been real once. I thought what we had was special, I said quietly. It was special, but it was also temporary. I never promised you forever, Curtis. You said you loved me. I did love you. In my way. You were kind to me. Generous. You treated me better than most men treat women here. But that doesn't mean I was going to change my whole life for you. I sat there in silence, feeling every one of my 59 years, feeling old and foolish and completely used. When is the wedding? I asked finally. Next month. How long have you been engaged? 2 years. But we couldn't afford the ceremony until. She didn't finish the sentence, but she didn't need to. Until I came along with my lonely heart and full wallet. Are you happy with him? Happy enough. We grew up together. He understands my life here in ways you never could. I stood up from the bench. I'm going back to my hotel now. Curtis, wait. Will you still help me? With the final payments? The audacity of the question should have made me angry, but instead I just felt empty, hollow. No, Alora, I won't be sending any more money. But the wedding is next month. We still owe money for the reception, the photographer. That's between you and your fiancé now. I walked away without looking back, her voice calling after me, asking me to reconsider, to understand her position, to help her one more time. But I was done understanding, done helping, done being the foolish foreigner who paid for love that was never real. She blocked my number 2 days later. I wasn't surprised once the money stopped flowing. There was no reason to maintain contact. I didn't try to reach her through other channels. What would have been the point? I deleted our photos from my phone but kept the Western Union receipts, not for legal action or revenge, but as a reminder. Evidence of my own willingness to be deceived. Total damage, 847,000 pesos over 5 months. About 15,000 US dollars, not enough to bankrupt me, but enough to sting. Enough to serve as an expensive lesson in late-life gullibility. I changed hotels, moving from Ortigas to Makati to avoid accidentally running into her. The Philippines is a big country, but Manila can feel small when you're trying to escape your mistakes. I continued my daily routines, morning coffee at different shops, afternoon walks through different districts, evening dinners at different restaurants. But everything reminded me of her. Every young Filipina woman made me wonder if she was authentic or just another skilled performer. Every couple made me question which relationships were real and which were transactions. I found myself walking past Rosa's bridal boutique 3 weeks later. The wedding dress was gone from the window display, replaced by a different style for a different bride. I wondered if Alora had worn it at her ceremony, if Dario had smiled when she walked down the aisle, if her family had thanked them both for finding a way to pay for such a beautiful celebration. The rational part of my mind understood her position. She was young, poor, trapped in a system that offered limited opportunities for advancement. I was an older foreign man with disposable income and obvious emotional needs. We'd both gotten something from the arrangement, even if only one of us had been honest about the terms. But understanding didn't make the betrayal hurt less. The worst part wasn't the money, though $15,000 stung. The worst part was realizing how easily I'd been manipulated. How desperate I'd been for affection that I'd ignored obvious red flags. How my loneliness after Sarah had made me vulnerable to anyone who showed interest. I started therapy sessions via video call with my counselor back in Des Moines. You were grieving your marriage, Dr. Peterson explained during one session. People in grief make poor decisions about new relationships. They're looking for immediate relief from pain, not sustainable connections. But I really thought she loved me. Part of her probably did care for you, Curtis. These situations are rarely black and white. She may have genuine affection for you while still prioritizing her survival and family obligations. So I wasn't completely wrong about her feelings. You weren't wrong about her enjoying your company and appreciating your kindness, but you were wrong about her priorities. Her survival and family came first, as they probably should have. It was a more nuanced perspective than I'd allowed myself to consider. Maybe Alora had experienced genuine moments of affection for me. Maybe her laughter and smiles hadn't all been performance. Maybe the situation was more complicated than victim and villain, but it didn't change the fundamental deception. She'd let me believe I was funding her education when I was actually paying for her wedding. She'd let me believe we had a future when she was planning one with someone else. She'd let me believe I mattered when I was just a temporary solution to a financial problem. 3 months after our confrontation, I made a decision that surprised even me. I stayed in the Philippines. Not because I was hoping to reconcile with Alora that ship had sailed permanently, but because running back to Iowa felt like admitting defeat. Like proving that Sarah had been right about me being too weak for adventure, too boring for excitement. I moved to Dumaguete, a smaller city far from Manila's painful memories. I rented a modest apartment near Silliman University and began volunteering at a local library, helping with their English conversation programs. The work was meaningful, and the relationships I built were transparent students who wanted to practice English, elderly locals who enjoyed chatting with foreigners, expatriate retirees who understood the challenges of starting over. I learned to be more careful with my trust and my wallet. When younger Filipina women showed interest, I was polite but distant. When anyone asked for financial help, I directed them to local assistance programs instead. I'd learned the difference between being generous and being a target. The loneliness was still there, probably always would be. But it was honest loneliness now, not the artificial intimacy I'd purchased in Manila. I could sit with it, acknowledge it, work through it without trying to buy my way out of it. 6 months after moving to Dumaguete, I received a friend request on Facebook from someone named Jenny Reyes. Her profile photo showed a young woman in nursing scrubs. Her message was brief. "Hi sir, I'm Alora's friend. She told me about you. I'm studying nursing at Silliman University. Can we meet for coffee?" I stared at the message for a long time, my finger hovering over the delete button. The familiar pattern was starting again: young nursing student, friendly approach, probable financial needs. But this time I recognized it immediately. This time I wasn't vulnerable to the performance. I deleted the message without responding and blocked Jenny Reyes from contacting me again. Some lessons, once learned, don't need to be repeated. I still think about Alora sometimes. Wonder if she's happy in her marriage, if she and Dario built a good life together with the foundation I unknowingly provided. Wonder if she ever feels guilty about the deception, or if she justifies it as necessary survival in an unfair world. Wonder if she tells her husband about the lonely American who paid for their wedding, or if that's a secret she'll carry forever. But mostly, I don't wonder. Mostly, I focus on the life I'm building now, smaller, quieter, more honest than what I had before. I teach English to genuine students, have coffee with authentic friends, and sleep peacefully knowing that no one is performing affection to access my bank account. The Philippines taught me about love and loss, trust and betrayal, generosity and exploitation. It cost me $15,000 and several months of heartbreak. But it also taught me that I could survive being fooled, that I could learn from my mistakes without becoming bitter, that I could start over at 59 without losing myself completely. I never became the rescuer I thought I was. Alora never became the nurse she claimed to be. But maybe we both became something else: her, a wife who found a way to survive and build a life. Me, a man who learned the difference between being needed and being used. In the end, that might be worth $15,000. Or maybe I'm still just telling myself stories to make sense of being played by a 28-year-old woman who saw me coming from a mile away. Either way, I'm done sending money to strangers who claim to love me. And that's a lesson that might actually stick this time.